public safety emergency, saying he's activated 800 National Guard members in the nation's capital and has now placed the D.C. Police Department under federal control, saying that Attorney General Pam Bondi will, quote, take command. This takeover is happening as the president says that crime in the city is out of control, despite officials saying that
D.C. is a dump, bro.
Certain crimes in the city have hit a 30-year low. Watch this.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. If necessary, we're going to move service members directly to joining the Guardsmen, and that'll take place very rapidly.
CNN's Brian Todd is closely following this story for us. So, Brian, take us through President Trump's order and what else he's threatening, because he says he might activate the military.
That's right, boy.
Well, any of you guys that know about D.C. know that D.C. is a fucking dump, bro. Like, 5 minutes from the Capitol, you got some of the worst neighborhoods in America.
He says he's kind of reserving the option to activate additional military units in Washington, D.C. if need.
Of course, CNN is losing their mind because they don't like Trump at all. So
need be. He then later said he didn't think he would need them, but he's going to keep that option open. He is also considering at least expanding the National Guard deployment to other cities. He named Chicago and New York City. But let's see how this plays out in Washington, D.C. first. We do have some source reporting from three sources familiar with the matter saying that both the D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith did not know of President Trump's announcement prior to when he made the announcement. They were caught kind of unaware of this prior to when he made the announcement this morning.
He said he don't give a fuck what y'all think.
Morning. As you see the graphic there, the president plans to mobilize some 800 National Guard members on the city streets here in D.C. to put the D.C. police under federal control. That is unprecedented, by the way. A president of the United States has never taken control of the D.C. Metropolitan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Police Department before. Also, FBI agents are going to be patrolling with the police department here. That is also a very rare occurrence, according to
super rare.
Our sources. It's very rare for FBI agents to patrol with police in a local police in any given city. Already some pushback here in the district from this, but let's first hear from President Trump.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you guys. That is absolutely fucking nuts. Absolutely nuts.
We'll get to the pushback in a moment, but here's what President Trump had to say about what he hopes the police could do in the city.
See, they fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. You can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there and people are spitting in their face and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
So the president promising a very tough crackdown on crime here in D.C. And again, we mentioned some pushback to this. The D.C. Attorney General, Brian Schwab, has issued this statement, quote, "The administration's actions are unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful. There is no crime emergency in the District of Columbia. Violent crime in D.C. reached historic 30-year lows last year and is down another 26% so far this year. We are considering all of our options and will do what's necessary to protect the rights and safety of district residents."
Now, Kukuru gave 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much, bro, for the 5 gifted on Rumble.
Attorney General Schwab is correct there when he says that crime is down in D.C. According to the D.C. Metropolitan Police, violent crime is down 26%, assaults with a dangerous weapon down 20%, robberies down 29%, and crime overall is at historic lows in this city, Boris. We also got some pushback from Council Member Charles Allen of the D.C. City Council saying this is doing this under the guise of public safety is, quote, wrong. It's an extreme, outrageous, and dangerous move for the city.
Trump also, just so you guys know, he also passed some other legislation as well. I posted this on my X. If you guys are not following me on X, you guys need to follow me on X, by the way. I post a lot of shit on there. Let me find it for you guys real quick. He basically gave, he told the judges to basically fuck off is what he did. Basically, Trump is taking away some of the power from these federal judges. As you guys know, he's had a lot of his executive orders blocked by federal judges all across the country. So here's a thread on this, basically. So federal judges can no longer block Trump nationwide. Before, one liberal judge in California could stop Trump's policies for all 50 states. Now that judge's ruling only affects their local district.
Of law, in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been...
And then the shocking truth about who's been blocking Trump. Pam Bondi revealed that of 40 nationwide injunctions against Trump, 35 came from just 5 districts: Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, California, Washington. Not surprised.
Impacted today. As I said, it's case by case. Let me reiterate, of the 35 of the 40 nationwide injunctions filed against this president, against his executive authority as president of the United States, 35 of them came from Maryland, D.C., Massachusetts, California, Washington.
Majority. Okay. Parents can now opt kids out of transgender content. The Supreme Court ruled parents can pull their kids from classical LGBTQ materials. That's a W.
I think this is bigger than trade. Yes, please, go ahead.
I was wondering, though, if you could...
Go ahead.
Sir, on the transgender ruling, the Supreme Court ruling that parents with religious objections can pull their kids out of public school lessons that use LGBTQ materials. Pam brought it up. Your reaction to that ruling today, sir?
I think the ruling was a great ruling, and I think it's a great ruling for parents.
Agreed.
It's really a ruling for parents. They lost control of the schools. They lost control of their child. And this is a tremendous victory for parents. And I'm not surprised by it, but I am surprised that it went this far. It took us to bring life back to normal. So it's wonderful. It's parental. And I kept...
And then next, no more taxpayer-funded transgender surgeries. Trump can now stop federal money going towards gender transitions. That's a W. They've arrested, obviously they arrested a bunch of these trended Araguas motherfuckers.
The violent criminals in our country are the priority now. Let me put it in perspective. Today marked the 2,711th arrest in our country of TDA members, just TDA. Everyone in this room agrees they are one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. And the Biden administration let them walk into our country for the last 4 years. 2,711 of them today have been arrested in our country. That is the priority of Donald Trump. That is the priority of this country, of Homeland Security, of all of our lawyers, of FBI. That's the priority. That will be discussed in October when the Supreme Court hopefully rules in our favor, and we're very confident of that. But you should all feel safer now that President Trump can deport all of these gangs, and not one district court judge can think they're an emperor over this administration and his executive powers and why the people of the United States elected him.
All right. Sanctuary cities are going to lose all their federal funding. Good.
California, they keep supporting illegal immigration, and then these people work under
Yeah, we're
the
giving them a
table.
hard time.
And also, in a foreign policy
I
question.
mean, they don't have a governor in California. They have a man that wants to give away everything to people that nobody's seen before. If we didn't go into Los Angeles with the military, which did a fantastic job, but if we didn't go into Los Angeles bringing in the National Guard, I would have brought the military if it was necessary, because you have to. We have the right to. That was another thing upheld by the Supreme Court. But if we didn't go in with the National Guard and be strong and tough, you wouldn't maybe have Los Angeles. It would be like the rest of California, the rest of Los Angeles. They lost 25,000 houses in a fire. They should have lost none. You know, I sent the water down. I had to break into their water supply because they just refused to do it. They're crazy. There's something wrong with them. They have plenty of water. They don't have droughts or anything. They have plenty. We let it come down from the Pacific Northwest. They routed all the water out into the Pacific Ocean for environmental reasons, okay? And now you have 25,000 houses, none of which would have burned down if you had the water. They didn't have water. They didn't have water for the fire pumps. They didn't have water in the sprinkler systems that people put in. So the answer is we're going to work with governors. We're going to work with radical left Democrats and Democrats, and we're going to make it good for everybody. We'll have to stop the crime in those, or in the case of the cities, I think I can say just about all cities with heavy crime are run by Democrats.
That's true. All right, let's get back to this thing with the DC stuff. But just so you guys know, the reason why I showed you guys that thread is to let you guys know that Trump is taking a more assertive stance to get more power and control right now. And obviously, we know the Democrats are going to lose their fucking minds. So be ready for Kyle Kalinske and Hassan Piker and Pac-Man and who else? Who's another fucking big left-wing talker? Sam Cedar. Be prepared for all of them to go nuts the next couple of days.
That is the first member of the D.C. City Council to push back in earnest to this move. Boris?
Dean
Brian
Withers,
Todd, thank
Harry
you so much
Sisson,
for
all the liberal soy boys, they're all going to lose their minds because Trump now is starting to collect more power, as you guys can see. He's limiting federal judge authority. He's taking control or trying to take control of the D.C. metropolitan law enforcement apparatus.
Reporting. Danny?
Boris, thank you. Former FBI Deputy Director and CNN Senior Law Enforcement Analyst Andrew McCabe
And I love watching this shit on CNN because it's so funny because they're so pissed off.
joins us now. We also have former U.S. Attorney and former Deputy Assistant Attorney General Harry Litman. Thank you, gentlemen, for breaking down this very important story. Andrew, I want to start with you. From your perspective, is the purpose of this action purely to have just a massive show of force on the streets of D.C., or in practice, is there anything that will be done differently with the police department under federal control?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what the purpose is, right? So we know what the ostensible purpose is, the facts that, or the, I don't want to even call them facts, the information that the president cited during his press conference, which of course included comparing DC to places like Baghdad and Bogota, Colombia, where we have no accurate reporting about what their crime statistics are. The fact is that the crime situation in DC is at all-time lows. They were at a 30-year low last year, and it's down an additional 26% this year. So there is no crime emergency per se in the city. So when you understand that, to try to divine what the purpose is of this deployment of National Guard assets, what this reallocation of things like FBI agent resources to patrol the streets of DC, it raises some important questions. Like, what is it? Why this production? Why this kind of Potemkin village of criminal intervention in a city? What is this designed to distract us from? I don't know that I can answer that for you here.
The Epstein files.
But
that's a part of it. You can make the argument.
In effect, taking a federal official and simply calling him the head of the Metropolitan Police Department changes nothing within the Metropolitan Police Department. Those sworn officers are the only people who are legally authorized to enforce the law outside of the federal properties in DC. Most of DC is not federal property. It is the property of the District of Columbia. And I should also say, to deprive the people, the citizens of the District of Columbia, of the representatives who they elected. They elect a mayor, they elect a city council, they are entitled to hold those folks responsible for the crime situation and every other situation in DC. To completely replace that sort of authority with some specious federal authority is really concerning, I think, as a democratic matter, a democracy issue writ large.
Harry, I want to bring you to the conversation. Aside from what this may look like on the ground today or tomorrow in D.C., it seems like the thing that actually also caught a lot of people's attention, and Brian Todd just mentioned it, was this warning that President Trump basically said that this sort of action might come to other cities across the country. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's really an important point, because it's true that he has somewhat greater authority, a fair bit greater authority in D.C. itself, though everything I think that Andy says is accurate.
Yeah, D.C. is a very different place, though. You know what I mean, guys? D.C. compared to, there's nowhere else like it in the United States.
That goes away when he's talking about Chicago, when he's talking about Los Angeles. And by the way, he mentioned only, of course, Democratic cities. The two highest cities in murder rates are both Republicans. They didn't come out. But there, a whole survey of different laws come into effect, including the really important law. It's a mouthful, Posse Comitatus Act, that says you can't do this on the streets. You can't bring in the military. So to the extent he's trying to align it with some grand showing of what he's going to do in Democratic cities, he's going to be up against much higher legal barriers.
You know, Andrew, we heard pushback, as Brian Todd reported, just after the announcement came, but there wasn't as much pushback from, say, the D.C. mayor leading up to this. I'm curious if there's anything in particular about this, again, going into practice that worries you, especially if we might potentially see American citizens in any sort of confrontation with, say, FBI agents or National Guard members.
Yeah, there's a lot that worries me about this. You know, first of all, it's hard to explain the lack of pushback by DC authorities right now. I suspect they're probably trying to get their heads around this entire thing. It's absolutely so bizarre. Apparently, they had no notice of it. There is also the matter of congressional funding, which basically took away $1 billion from DC this year. So the Senate is trying to restore that. The House is not willing. So there's a very kind of compelling financial / political issue that they're trying to navigate at the same time, which might be having an impact on how vocally they want to push back. Nevertheless, you are now looking at things like having hundreds of FBI agents, quote unquote, patrol the streets of DC. This is not something that FBI agents do. They're not trained for it. They don't plan on that. They don't have that sort of legal authority intrinsically.
Yeah, feds don't have the authority to like charge you under state, you know, ordinances or charges or whatever it may be. Like an FBI agent can't write you a ticket.
Understand exactly how FBI agents are going to start making arrests around DC, again, on areas that are not federal property. That is not something that has been worked out.
Yeah, that would have to, the state would have to do it, and then they'd be there to assist. You can assist, but you can't really enforce shit.
Anyway, and now let's think about the opportunity cost. All of those counterterrorism cases, counterintelligence cases, criminal cases, crimes against children, all the things that we rely on FBI agents to protect us from every day, that work is not getting done because you've taken that resource, some percentage of it, and shifted it to patrolling DC, which is something that the FBI does not do and really cannot do in its current state competently or safely for themselves or for the citizens of the district. So really questionable decisions here that will have major impacts on the safety and security of this country.
Harry, just really quickly, I want.
Interesting. Okay, let's get into the Al Jazeera reporters killed. Let me go ahead and read this stuff.